Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Ultimate Fantasy Football Three-Way, brought to you by FantasyDonks.com, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know to start playing daily fantasy sports. I'm Sean Big Papa Williams.
I'm Jamie Learjet Lear.
And I'm Chris Murr.
Who is clearly too cool for a nickname. And we will be giving you all our breakdown action as normal. We'll start off with Murr giving us the rundown on the Chiefs at Green Bay game. It's a 48 over-under line, and that line is actually moved up to 49. Murr, give us that breakdown, buddy.
It's an interesting game for fantasy football in that the Kansas City has had a long break in between games, working the Thursday night and then coming into a Monday game. So they've had kind of a mini bye week going on. Also, Green Bay coming off of a hard-fought Monday night game against Seattle. It should be interesting for fantasy football. Quite honestly, as I look at that game, there are plenty of ways it could go. With Aaron Rodgers being the most expensive quarterback, I don't know that I feel comfortable playing him against Kansas City with their pass rush and also with the Green Bay's line being so-so. On the other, or along with Aaron Rodgers, you end up with Eddie Lacy, he's banged up. You end up with possibly Starks playing there. Kansas City is one of the top teams against the run. And then you also end up with their wideouts. I feel like one of their wideouts is going to have a good day. I don't know which one. Randall Cobb is 7,300, which is ridiculously high. Whereas you can value buy James Jones at the 4,800 mark.
No, I think what's going to happen is if you want to get on an island in this game, you pay up for Cobb. If you want to be with the masses, you're going to value by Jones.
For sure. And it's definitely not the only game like that, but it is that game. The other place that you can get on an island is really going to be getting on Kansas City coming on a bye, basically coming off of a long layover. Alex Smith had a horrible outing, should be super cheap. I like Kelsey against this defense. He was balled up last week by a much faster defense in Denver, but I do like him this week. I'm not a Macklin fan for this week, and I am big on Jamal Charles. I think Jamal Charles, similar to what Matt Forte did week one, Jamal Charles should do similar work. He is obviously a pass-catching back and a running threat. Vegas believes that, this line's going to be high, and if the Chiefs are going to score, Jamal Charles is going to to be involved with that.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I'm disagreeing with your breakdown a little bit in the sense that I'm not sure that a winning team in the GPP this week won't be a Alex Smith, Macklin, Kelsey stack. And the reason why I say that is most people are breaking down the game exactly like you are, Murr. And the Chiefs offense hasn't had a problem really scoring points. Other than the few instances they ran into that amazing Broncos defense. I think that the Packers defense is not even remotely close to what that Broncos defense is, and we were putting up points against them at home. I think that I think everybody can have a good day, and even including Jamal Charles. I'm not sure that let's just put it this way. I've got lineups in where I'm stacking Chiefs, a couple of them here and there, and the GPPs. I think that puts you on a solid island.
I like this game for sure, but as far as with it being a high-scoring affair, and obviously that's how we win our games is by us scoring points and the team scoring points. So I don't think it's going to be as high scoring as people are predicting. My two plays that I really like in this game this week is a Travis Kelce play with maybe a combo of Alex Smith. I mean, Kelsey's coming in at 5,000. He's definitely one of Alex Smith's favorite targets. And, I foresee them, too, if they get close to the end zone there, not having maybe a few reservations about giving the ball to Jamal Charles after his double fumble week last week. And, going with one of those in-motion tight end plays to the corner and hitting Kelsey. And for 5,000, I mean, he's going to be a good play at tight end or even a sexy flex play. So I like that. And then even on the other side of that, Richard Rodgers for Green Bay. I mean, obviously he scored a touchdown last week, but for $2,500, this guy's only $2,500, and he's a starting tight end on the Packers offense. So, I mean, if you're looking for a dirty play within that game, I'm not saying he's going to get you 20 points or anything like that, but if you're looking for a guy for min value who maybe will score you at least 10 points, Richard Rodgers is a good player.
Yeah, that might happen, and that might be a decent value play. I think that pretty much wraps up this game. We're all pretty much hard on this game for various different reasons. We like it, so I definitely consider this game as part of your thought process for setting lineups this weekend. The next game is Jacksonville at New England with an over-under of 48. That line is actually down right now to 47. Look, this is my game to break down, and I owe everyone an apology. I told you last week to fade the Pats. That was wrong. I am extremely wrong. I thought Buffalo's defense was better than what it was. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to contend I was wrong on that. Buffalo's defense was really good, and they stopped the Patriots several different ways on several different drives. The problem is that, and I think this is the Patriots' mindset, is Brady is so mad about this whole cheating fiasco along with Belichick that it looks like they're down to lay down the throttle and put a hurting on teams, and they just don't care.
Right.
They're going to throw the ball 50 times a game until Brady's arm falls off or until somebody gets hurt, and they're just going to keep running up the score. And that's going to be Brady and Belichick's big middle finger to the NFL for this whole process. And until I see different, I think if you're running multiple GPP lineups and you don't start off with a Patriots stack somewhere, you're playing daily fantasy wrong.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, I had the same thing. I was on that last week thinking the same thing, knowing that, the last time the Patriots had a scandal, coming off of their videotaping scandal, that was the season that they nearly won a perfect season.
Yeah.
So I just think that's how they roll. I also will go another route with that and say, New England's defense is bad.
Yeah, I haven't got there yet. Calm yours with. Larry, do you have anything to add about?
I mean, as far as myself and New England, I mean, I had Edelman as one of my plays last week for a sneaky play, even though he's not really sneaky. But the guy scored over 30-some points. So
Andy was under-owned for what he should have been. So your sneaky part of the play was absolutely right.
But as far as that goes, I mean, these guys, like you said, they're just going to just keep pounding people and pounding people and pounding people, and that's going to be Edelman, it's going to be Gronk, and the other guys might get into play there, but the two guys you have to have is Gronk,
right. And let's just be honest, if you're starting a New England stack, it should be Brady, Gronk, Edelman, and then jump everywhere else. Jump off that game. Actually, something I'm doing, and this leads me into the second half of this game, guys, is Jacksonville. Everybody's putting up points at will on this New England defense, which is great for New England's offense because they have to keep the pedal down. But the defense is so bad, I can also see Jacksonville stacks this week. And I have no problem with you stacking Brodels with Allen Robinson or Allen Hurns. Both of them produce legitimately. Yeah. Allen Hurns has actually been a little bit below the production level, and Robinson went off last week. So if you want to get on an island, buy Hurns at the cheaper price tag. But in all honesty, Allen Robinson is way too cheap to fade, especially if you're playing a Jacksonville stack. I also love TJ Yeldon in this game. I think that the Patriots are a sieve against the run game. TJ Yeldon's starting to get full reps. The other backs are injured and out. I think TJ Yeldon can carry the workload and put up a monster fantasy for you. He's also way underpriced. Jacksonville is getting no love, even though they're a legitimate fantasy team. They might be, and see, this is something that you have to learn when you play daily fantasy. Just because the team may not be a good team that's a contender for division purposes or to make the playoffs, does not mean that that's a team that you don't want to play for daily fantasy.
Yeah.
And Jacksonville is one of those teams where I have no problem. And actually, I put together a lineup that's New England, Jacksonville stacked. I've got a couple of real nice pieces outside of that.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a great lineup for this weekend because, I mean, you look at last weekend, I mean, when they played at Buffalo, I mean, it was a high-scoring affair on both sides.
Right.
And so it's the same thing. It's just optional defense football. And, like you said, the Jacksonville's going to have to keep up with New England because they're going to score. It's not a question. It's if and when that happens. So, I mean, I definitely love the Allen Robinson play this week at his price point of $5,200. I mean, that's
you can get Hurns even cheaper, and Hurns has that as breakout week.
You're right.
Remember last year when Hurns dropped the 50 burger on everybody? you might be able to get that out of him, and you'll be on an island. I don't think a lot of people are paying attention
Well,
to him right now.
Hearns has been producing. I mean, that's the thing. He's had 5, 6 catches that are
Oh, yeah.
50, 60 yards. It's really just
10 to
about,
14 points.
it's
right?
really about finding that touchdown, finding pay dirt there, and to get paid off on him, which I think you should be able to do against a bad New England defense.
Yeah, it's just whether or not he hits the end zone to pay off your value there.
And let's be honest here, even if Allen Robinson has 20 points at $5,200, that is
that's
a
still-
monster.
That is a monster, dude. At,
And that's
at $5,200, let's be honest, he pays off at 13.
Yeah.
Like at that price total, he pays off at 13 points. Anything north of that, you're getting bonus. And I think a decent expectation is easy 15 out of him. If he goes for his 25, 30 that he's capable of, you're gonna just own the field.
I mean, he had 6 for 155 and 2 touchdowns last week.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Any concern a lot of people will be on him after?
Yes, that's my concern. Is the entire free world is going to be on him at his price tag. That's why I'm recommending that Hearns swerve.
Yeah.
Or if you really like that game and you think Yeldon's going to be able to do it, the only worry there is pace of play. And if the Patriots get too far ahead, but the argument is TJ will catch passes to
balls,
get. Yeah. So I mean, I think we've dived into this game a little bit more than probably what we should.
Yeah.
We may be running a little long on time, but hopefully you're getting all. There are a ton of plays in both of those games, and that's why we're going to do it. We'll save some time because there's not as many plays in some of these games coming up. But speaking of which, that brings us to Lear's first game of the week, which is Bengals at Ravens. I see there not being a ton of fantasy goodness out of this divisional matchup, but we'll hear what Lear has to say. The line is at 44.5, and we've really basically seen no real movement on that line.
Yeah.
So, Lear, how's this game looking?
Well, to me, basically both of these teams have been playing optional defense so far this year in 2015. Baltimore, letting the Raiders beat them last week, 37-33 at home in Los Angeles, and the Bengals beating the Chargers 24-19 at home. The Ravens will be their home opener this weekend, so first time they're playing at home in 2015. I think that gives them a little bit of an advantage, but I think overall it will be a decently high-scoring game, surprisingly. Defense optional football like the last game that we just talked about. And I think both wide receiver quarterback combos here will be into play. Andy Dalton at $5,700, throwing bombs over Baghdad to AJ Green, $7,200. Baltimore's defense is 31st against the pass. Mm-hmm. So I definitely like, after Dalton last week in Cincinnati, and he was your dumpster of the week, I know that.
A little wrong.
But 31st against them. On the Baltimore side of this, you got Joe Flacco. He is $6,200 throwing over to Steve Smith at 63. Steve Smith had
One second, bro. 1 second. Before we get to the Ravens here. Guys, this is the ultimate question. I agree with everything you're saying about Andy Dalton, and I love the Red Rifle. Are we going to get the good away Andy Dalton, or are we going to get nightmare away Andy Dalton, where we get negative fantasy points against the Ravens, which on the road he has done before against this same Ravens team? Well, a little bit different.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both 2-0. I mean, I'm not both of them, but the Cincinnati is 2-0 so far this year. And, they blew the doors off of the Raiders.
Well, right.
Last week, they won against a good Chargers team that beat Detroit. So I really like their streak that they've got going on here.
Your argument is essentially like the Bengals, even Andy Dalton on the road, are really good against these defense optional teams. The Ravens are one of these, especially against the pass. Is that like?
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
As far as that goes, I mean, right now they're 31st against the pass, and the Bengals are really hot right now. Right. So I see the Bengals going in and just having a field day as far as the secondary is concerned.
I don't have a problem with that. I just wanted to clarify that for the viewers, because if you're unaware, Andy Dalton has terrible roads.
He does. I will agree to that.
I mean, epic dumpster fire on the road usually, but I'm actually leaning towards your logic there. I think he has a good game. Yeah. I think he may have shedded the I'm terrible on the road. All right, Lear, let's get back to the Ravens action that you're breaking down.
So Flacco, 6,200 with Steve Smith, who had an awesome game last week, double-digit points for him. They ranked 7th against pass defense as far as Cincinnati goes. And basically for a combined difference of $400, so you're Dalton and AJ Green versus $12,500 for Steve Smith, Joe Flacco. I like the Dalton Green pick better than I do the Joe Flacco Steve Smith play here.
I mean, I think you can go
Of
with
course.
either way and be all right.
Yeah.
So
But it's $400 difference. As far as the running game, you got Jeremy Hill, 7,300, coming off a really bad game last week, 3.1. And then Justin Forsett, had a decent game against the Raiders last week, 12 points. I look for Justin Forsett to have a really good game this week, actually, and possibly get 1 to 2 touchdowns. He has 0 touchdowns so far this year, so I look for him to have a good game this week.
not a fan.
It's kind of a sneaky play.
Yeah, not a fan of running backs against the Bengals front. Like,
I don't love this game, period. So
I think
just
like
as a divisional game, I feel like typically when you see a AFC North type game like this, you're going to see teams that just bang it out, and they tend to get lower scoring. I know that these defenses haven't been that good. The Ravens actually did look good week 1 against Denver. They gave up yardage, but not points.
Denver's offensive line did them
Right.
abysmal.
Yeah.
And I think then you get the Bengals on the road in the division. I really am probably leaning more away from this game just because, again, I don't think the value's there with the price points on any of the players compared to other games where I have much easier matchups.
Sir, you are just wrong. Both of you are wrong because you didn't even talk about this
Except
guy.
for
Crockett Gilmore, kids, is the play for Baltimore, especially in a division matchup. I can grant either one of their arguments for how this game goes down, and Crockett Gilmore should have a monster. Last game, the guy had 5 receptions for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. The game before that, in his first appearance, he had caught 2 for 23. I think it was just him getting used to Flacco getting used to seeing how he runs routes and whatnot. I love Crockett Gilmore this week, and what I love even more about Crockett Gilmore is his price tag at $3,300. What he allows you to do is, like, you can flex out. I'm double donking tight end all over the place with Crockett Gilmore and Gronkowski. They average out then to be a $5,000 player.
Yeah.
And so I've spent $5,000 at tight ends, $5,000 at flex, and I've got Gronk, and who has the ability to outpace every tight end by 15 to 25 points.
Yeah.
And then I have Crockett Gilmore, who has the ability to go for, he should hit at least, I think he's the a new safety valve, easy 10, should be able to go north of 20 without a problem, as we've seen before. That's my sneaky play out of this game. Other than that,
I like it.
I actually agree with both of you. That's why there are lineups where I completely fade this game, and then there's lineups where I'm designed around Flacco and Steve Smith and Crockett Gilmore. Then there's lineups where I'm designed around the Red Rifle and AJ.
Now, I might be arguing and discussing this game. I'm not necessarily picking anybody from these teams. It's just who I got assigned to this week. So I'm just giving you the information that you guys need for this
Fair
game.
enough. I'm sure they appreciate you disclosing that. I don't think that there's a problem. We've seen this divisional game, very easy, go a couple ways in the past. This game almost is never a 21-20, like a 21-23 game. It is either they are off to the races or it's like a 3-9 game. And so the fade or jump on bandwagon is the approach. The only way I would do limited exposure is if you're going after Crockett Gilmore or one of the wideouts.
Giovanni.
Yeah, or Giovanni Bernard. We'll talk about him a little bit later. But with that done, I'm pretty sure that wraps up the Ravens
I'm
game.
good.
We're more than good on that. Murr is going to bring us the next action, which is Denver at Detroit, the Sunday night affair. It's a 44.5 over/under, and apparently everyone thinks Vegas has hit this one on the head as well, as the line has not moved.
Yeah, I'll be pretty quick with this one. I'm going to stay away from most Lions players in that Matt Stafford's banged up. Their line is lousy. Their offensive line is lousy. And Denver's defensive line is very, very good. Because of that, I'm going to probably fade Matt Stafford at his price point. I'm going to probably be fading Calvin Johnson at his in the 7,000s. I think Golden Tate is a possible play by people because he's cheaper than Calvin Johnson, but I think people that want a piece of that game, most of them will be on, of course, Golden Tate, similar to the James Jones situation. On the others, and when it comes to the running backs for the Lions, I don't feel like flipping a coin. There's other running backs I can play. I don't have to guess.
You're going to get it for sure.
Well,
Literally all three of them do the same thing.
Exactly.
They all catch balls. They all hit the hole explosively.
Well,
they can all be goal line backs when need be. If they had set roles maybe,
And that's
Still too early yet.
And that's usually what happens with me is if I get in those kind of deals, I'm like, well, let me take the guy that catches balls. Well, they all do that, so I'm going to go a different route.
Yeah.
On the other side of the ball, it can get a little confusing. I don't think, obviously, Detroit's defense is not very good, so I do think that Peyton Manning and the Broncos are going to do some damage. If they continue to do what they did against the Chiefs last week, where they go out of shotgun mostly, and they open it up, and they run a more traditional Peyton Manning type offense instead of the Kubiak bootleg, I think they're gonna end up dominating. It's going to be brutal through the air. I think that Emmanuel Sanders at his price point is $7,600 is in play. I think Thomas would be in play. He's a little more expensive at the $8,000 mark. I tend to go. I'm more of an Emmanuel Sanders guy because I know he's volume.
You like to defer to value.
Well, I defer to volume. I know what Emmanuel Sanders is. He's going to get his 8 balls. It's whether or not he finds pay dirt.
Yeah.
On that same side, though, if Kubiak decides to revert to form and say, "Hey, this is the game where we get our run game,"
He's going to Kubi it this
he
week.
could Kub it up, and he'll go old Kub on you, and at that point, he's going to be handing off. You're going to see, is it going to be C.J. Anderson? There's a lot of reports that Hillman's picking up. It's going to be Hillman's definitely been the more productive looking back. But at the same time, it's old Kub. He's going to bang his head against the wall, and there's no reason that he's not going to run C.J. Anderson 20 times.
Right.
And quite honestly, this is the kind of game where he can get by doing that and win.
Yeah.
So that makes you go, God, they may want to look at this game and go, this is the game where we get our run game right. Yeah. So really, to me, I do like Emmanuel Sanders, but outside of that, I'm probably not going to be much in this game.
All right. This game's easy for me. Fade everyone. Broncos D all in on it. I love Broncos D. Dude, first of all, the Broncos defense has looked amazing. Pressure-wise, their ability to get turnovers off that pressure, and even when they're not getting pressure, their ability to get turnovers by forcing fumbles. They have some of the best swats on balls that I've seen a defense have. Granted, we're only 2 weeks in, but amazing. I'm all over the Denver defense this week for a couple of reasons. First, I'm not sure that Detroit gets out of this game with a quarterback that's actually alive.
Because he's going in already.
Right, he already has bruised ribs. If you've ever had bruised ribs, it hurts to freaking breathe. Much less try to throw a football 30 yards downfield to Megatron. I just don't trust Detroit at all in this game. I think Denver defense is where you want to be, and honestly, because the ability to get dirty cubed, I'm off of all the Broncos' weapons.
I think Von Miller is going to have a monster game against that Lions offensive line. But in that retrospect, too, I think the Lions are going to transition as well and move their game strategy around their rushing and their defense as far as their front seven.
Their O-line can't do it.
I don't know let's assume they had a good O-line. I don't know that you can do that with this Broncos defense, guys. This Broncos defense is legit, super
The Chiefs
legit.
did have luck on the ground against them, but that said, the Lions line is really bad.
And
Jamal Charles is a much better running
Sunday
back
night
than they're going to be able to
And there's a huge difference between Jamal Charles and the three backs and our line and the Chiefs line versus the Lions line.
Absolutely. And then again, I also go to the point of Denver is also the team that's coming in with the mini bye week, so I feel like they're going to be rested, they're going to be ready to go. I just am not a piece of that.
Fair enough.
They've escaped 2 weeks in a row, man. 2 weeks in a row, they've escaped.
Dude,
And they'll coast this week.
That's
I think they're going to coast this
Did
week.
you not remember the coup when he was in the that's his game strategy.
I think it's going to happen.
The bootleg quarterback game strategy is we try to win by a touchdown.
By not a lot.
Right, and I think Peyton, if I had to guess, Peyton can't win into the halftime. Is like, look, dude, we're trying your offense. I'm doing it the best I can. It's not working. I can either play from the shotgun and control the game, so I know we can keep these guys off my butt, right, and we can move the ball downfield, or we can keep getting beat trying your system.
Right.
It looks to me like they've switched, but God only knows with Kubiak, and he could give you the dirty cube, and they could try to run all week. So I think that pretty much wraps up this game.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, let's move along to the next game. This is my game. It's Philly at the Jets, a 47.5 over/under. Apparently, people think that the Philly is the dumpster fire, just like I do, as this line has already moved down 2.5 points to 45. My analysis here is JETS, Jets. This defense is amazing. And where I'm not owning Broncos defenses, I'm owning the Jets defense. And Philly is garbage. Philly's running back has 11 yards in 2 games so far. 11 for the leading rusher last year. That offensive line is abhorrent. Chip Kelly's experiment is dying, and I'm not sure he makes it through the full season right now, especially if this team continues to look like the dumpster fire they are. Because of that, it worries my potential of Fitzy with B. Marsh and Decker. I'm not sure they need to pass the ball. I think they'll just dominate this game from start to finish. Ivory and Powell are the cheap sources of points. The problem is they both like to hover around that 12 to 15 range. They're not going to do anything awesome for you, but they're not going to hurt you, and they're a great source of value to allow you to stud up other places. Those are the plays I like this week. Defense, Ivory, Powell. Fitz, B. Marsh, and Decker are all in play if Decker's healthy. But, guys, I have this game flow being just like what the bettors do. I have the Jets just dominating this game and not needing to throw the ball.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, Philly's O-line is really bad, and that's the beginning and end. You get a bad O-line on the road against a good D, and that's all
Yeah.
I care about. So
All I want to know is what's this Jets defense going to look like when they get Sheldon Richardson back in 2 weeks?
It will be crazy. I mean, that's for sure.
Like, they're playing this well and
I'd like to see him play some
better talent.
better
No,
talent.
fair
We'll
enough,
see.
fair
We'll
enough.
see. Let's.
All right, well, they're definitely not playing better talent this week in Philadelphia,
They'll
so.
play New England twice. We'll see what's up.
You guys have anything else to add on this game?
No.
I mean, I like Brandon Marshall in this game, but I'll talk about him a little bit later. But as far as your breakdown, I think it was great, and I'm definitely not on any Eagles this week at all. I'm just off that train.
No. And I recommend you do the same, guys. The Eagles are undraftable,
Yeah.
in my opinion, until they show us something different.
Correct.
Or until they price correct a little bit.
Yeah.
I think once they get down, it'll all be okay. Because
All
they're always going to be a
I'll tell you what, right now they
For
can
my
be
money, it's-
terrible, and the volume's not putting up points. I mean, Sproles crapped on people
Yeah.
all.
For my money, I'm just avoiding
Does
it.
Matthews even have a fantasy point yet this year?
Yeah, he does.
Jordan Matthews?
No.
Okay,
The
because
running
Jordan
back
Matthews is still showing up.
Yeah, Jordan Matthews is getting his points.
Yes, there's
but
plenty.
Chip Kelly has already screwed you out of a
Ryan
touchdown.
Matthews?
Yes.
Yeah, he has a touchdown.
Their O-line sucks so bad. You
Fair enough.
can't depend on that. Though.
Yeah, dude. Like, they're just garbage fantasy producers. I know he had a 0 last week. But anyways,
did.
there we go. All right, the next game is Lear's last game. This last of the game breakdown. It's Pittsburgh at St. Louis with a over-under line of 48, and we've really seen no movement on that line. So
No.
apparently Vegas thinks this is where that game's going to be.
I like this game this week. I think it's going to be a good game overall. The Steelers are obviously one of the hottest teams right now when it comes to fantasy football and season long. All their key players have been scoring massive points, and if you've obviously had the Ben Brown combination, especially last week, you've definitely been making some money. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
This week, the 1-1 Steelers obviously travel to the 1-1 St. Louis Rams. The Rams are coming off a horrible loss on the road against Washington. There will be many players, obviously, with the welcoming back to of Le'Veon Bell coming off of suspension. $7,500 for him. And then as far as percent owned guys, based on Bell's history, I think he's going to be a really, really high owned guy as far as that goes.
Oh, yeah.
Then you've got Roethlisberger, 7,200. Good game. Probably, have at least 300 yards passing, couple touchdowns. But you're going to have to pay up for his production. Same thing with Brown, 8,900. Coming off a monster week, 39.5 points last week, 9 catches for 195 yards and a touch. Averaging 9 catches a game in 2 games. So,
Oh, yeah.
So right now he's got an average of 35.4 points over 2 games.
Oh, yeah. I have no problem starting off teams, and this is another game that I think you kind of have to stack. Start with what we've seen out of the Steelers so far. If you're running multiple lineups, one of the lineups you should be running is a Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown start. Like, start there and work around it. That's going to limit you because they're so expensive.
Yeah.
But it's worth it with what their production's been being. Like,
I mean, it was I had one lineup last week with those two, and I mean, starting off the day with almost 70 points combined for 2 players, I mean,
Yeah.
you can't beat it.
yeah, exactly.
Not saying that's going to happen this game,
Well, it very well could.
But the Rams have a good defense and they're playing at home. So obviously we saw what they did against Seattle, but it was still a high scoring affair.
And
Obviously.
then they got clowned by their Washington team with their racist name.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm with you. I don't know how this game flow is going to go, but I know Pittsburgh will get their points. I also think St. Louis is going to get their points too. The problem is guessing which sideout's going to see the action.
Yeah.
I think the play that I would roll with here is, I'm not sure I have a problem with Foles at quarterback. He seems to be getting the points. Super cheap source of value. I don't know that you want to pick a single weapon with him.
Right.
Like, just
like a single quarterback.
Rolling him by himself, like for a source of value, is actually a decent play in my opinion.
Like I couldn't, just sorry to side point it here, but I couldn't believe last week I saw the guy that won the Millionaire Maker. His quarterback was Marcus Mariota, but he did not team him with anybody else.
Oh no,
And that's why
there's several
Tyrod
quarterbacks.
Taylor early in the
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, there's several quarterbacks that you can naked roll. I would never naked roll Tyrod anymore. Like, he clearly loves, unless Sammy Watkins is locked down by a super elite corner talent. But like, he seems to love that matchup. This isn't a situation like Brodels in Jacksonville where you have two guys that get all the targets. Literally in St. Louis, you don't know who that weapon's going to be. It could be the running backs. It could be the random Lance Kendrick tight end dirty.
They could rush
Kenny Britt.
They could rush
You can get
Tavon
Kenny Britt. You can get a Tavon Austin screenplay. Like,
Tavon
like
Cook or Quinn.
Yeah, like they've got a ton of guys.
Brian Quick.
Brian Quick, yes. I just, if I'm going to be on it, if I'm going to be on St. Louis, basically, I'm either paying up for, I'm either buying Trey Mason, hoping that that he's the starter alone and that the rookie's not playing, or I'm going naked quarterback with Foles. Other than that, I'm all over Pittsburgh in this game.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as like what I have for the St. Louis side, I mean, Todd Gurley. You know, we talked a little bit about
really goes.
$4,700. You know, but I'm all over. I'm not even touching any of the St. Louis Rams this week.
Right.
He's listed as a game time decision. Here's how I break that down. If he doesn't go, Trey Mason is a legit play. If he goes, he or Trey Mason are still legit plays against this terrible run defense for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you're down to a coin flip.
Like, Pittsburgh is showing an illusionary run defense right now, and they're showing a stat that says they're better than what they are. It's just because people are behind on them, so they're throwing way down the field, and they're so bad against the pass that people aren't having to run on them as much.
Yeah.
Don't let that that stupid little red number come into your factor here.
Right.
Make an argument somewhere else, and if that's the reason why you're off the game, fair enough.
I agree.
All right, with that done, I think we wrapped up our games for today, the game breakdowns. Now it's time for our bargain bin sneaky play of the week. First is going to be Lear with that breakdown, since he was last time. We'll let him first this time.
Yay! So my bargain sneaky play this week is a game we kind of already talked about, but I like Golden Tate as a sneaky play this week. Tate's 2015 season is off to a kind of a disappointing start, although last week he did have a decent week of 6 catches for 80 yards. So 14 points scored, throwing a TD there, that's a nice day. Tate will be Sunday Night Lights as far as being in Detroit at home, with Peyton and the Broncos coming to town. Look for Denver to do some squeeze play with Aqib Talib on Megatron, leaving Golden Tate out there kind of on an island by himself. And you got Harris out there too. I know he's good, but with Tate, he's $5,700. I could possibly see him just coming out of the woodwork and throwing down a 30 burger this week.
I can see that too. As someone that's had bruised ribs and how much it hurt just to breathe, I can also see Stafford being in so much pain that he can't throw the ball, or they have him so drugged up to play through the pain that he doesn't know who he's throwing the ball to. And that's why I'm off this game from the offensive point of Stafford and the Lions. I'm just worried that either he's going to be doped up to deal with the pain, or he's going to be in so much pain he's going to be ineffective. Either way, it spells out ineffective. And although I think somebody's got to get the passes that he's going to throw, my read is that somebody that's going to get the passes is going to be the Broncos defense, which is why I don't want any part of the Broncos offense either. Like, the Broncos defense may have 2 to 3 touchdowns in this game, if the way I'm breaking down this game is right. But I totally get where you're coming from, and I like Golden Tate as a sneaky play. That is sneaky with the read I have. Lear, Murr, who's your sneaky play bargain bin player?
Mine is also someone that we've already discussed, and that's Fred. He's again a guy who catches 5-6 balls a game the last 2 weeks. He's getting his 11 to 10 points, but it's because he's not finding the end zone. I think against New England, there is a high probability that lots of people are going to find the end zone. So that's why I'm going Alan Hearns at 3,700.
Yeah, I actually like that play, and you heard me talk about it in the breakdown. That's where I would go.
Biggest thing there is he's going to get opportunity.
Yeah.
There's going to be targets.
Against a bad D.
Yeah, and I'm staying with that game actually as my bargain sneaky play. And we've said this, like Jacksonville's just underpriced.
Right.
Especially with the defense optional Patriots that they're playing. TJ Yeldon at 4,400 is one of the best bargain bin sneaky players at running back that you can roll this week. I think that people are going to look elsewhere. They're going to be all over the value play of in Green Bay, trying to think that Starks is going to run on a top 3 run defense in the NFL.
Yeah,
and I just think that I just think you're smoking crack at that point if that's the argument you're going to make. And I want no piece of it. Give me Yeldon at a cheaper price tag, and I'll roll that way. Anybody?
Nope.
All right. Now that we've got the bargain sneaky players out of the way, now it's who you're going to pay up for production this week. These are the guys that are super expensive, but we're saying you can't do without. And last week, all of our guys that we said you couldn't do without at least hit their value. Some of them didn't go as crazy as we wanted them to, but they were all guys that if you had them on your lineup, you were most likely moving into the cash.
Yep.
So, Lear, who's your paying up for production guy this week?
I mean, it's probably going to be on a lot of people's radar, obviously, but I'm going to go with the Gronk spike, Rob Gronkowski. Obviously, him and Tom Brady are off to a hot start. Lonely Jags coming to town. They should both have a monster day. Definitely at home, and especially against that defense at home. So far, Gronk this season's 32.4 and 27.3 points to start off the year. Obviously averaging over 28 points a game. That's just insane for a tight end. And his cost is $7,400. So, you're getting him at a basically kind of a middle tier, really good running back, or wide receiver at a tight end position. So, but he's definitely worth every single penny of your $7,400, and I'm gonna ride that train until he breaks down, or
He's a player that can put you on.
It's a free square.
It's a player that puts you on an island.
The only problem is that most people are paying up for him, so you're not going to get on an island.
Yes.
But I'm all over the Gronky Kong this weekend. Like Gronky Kong for life until he proves me wrong.
Learned your lesson.
Dude, for sure. If you can do that on a defense that squares up and legitimately plays tight ends well, you should be able to do that
Until
at will.
stops him.
Right. So I have no problem rolling that way. And like I said, I'm double donkeying tight end with him all over the place.
Yeah.
It's just not an issue for me. Murr, who is your paying up for production guy this week?
My pay up for production this week is Adrian Peterson.
Okay.
The reason is really San Diego's run D is not very good. We saw last week.
Yeah, they're terrible.
Right. I was trying to be kind.
No, their run defense has been terrible for 3 years now.
Adrian Peterson had a good game last week. It would have been much, much bigger if he hadn't got screwed a couple of times, but
I'm pretty sure he did that to himself.
And fumble.
4 fumbles, 2 of which his own team recovered, and 2 of which the other team recovered. And
that said, the rust is starting to come off. I think this is one of those get right games.
Oh, yeah.
I do feel like again against a team that Jeremy Hill was running all over, that Giovanni Bernard got his against last week. I just think that this is an Adrian Peterson ball game.
Yeah,
75.
I have no problem with that because last week, if you'd had the 4 touchdowns he was supposed to have, that's a 40-plus point day.
Yeah.
And that means even at his salary price, which is ridiculous.
$7,500.
It's the same as Gronk.
Yeah, it's the same as Gronk. And both of them have ceilings of 40-plus.
Yeah.
And both of them have floors, realistically, of 20. And, if that's what I'm getting, if I'm getting a floor of 20 and a ceiling of 40, I'll make those plays all day. I love that as actually a guy you have to pay up for. Mine is going to surprise no one, as this segment really rarely does. But it's very important. Well, it's very important, though, because these are guys you have to build your lineup around. And you have to have the mentality. Because cheap lineups with the production that these guys are capable of putting just aren't going to get it done if you don't have one of the superstars that goes off. My guy is Antonio Brown in the game we already talked about. I told you I love starting him off with the the Roethlisberger combo. I also love Antonio Brown. The 8,900, yes, is expensive, but if I get the 20 plus, I'm golden. Now, granted, it is more expensive and more harder to pay up for the wide receivers than the running backs or the tight ends. I mean, there is a $1,400 price difference between him and Adrian Peterson and Gronkowski, and I'm not sure that I'd rather own Antonio Brown over Gronkowski or Adrian Peterson this weekend. So keep that in mind when you're setting your lineups. But if I'm going to pay up for a wide receiver and pay up for the elite wide receiving talent, this week is Antonio Brown in my book.
I mean, the guy's averaging over 34 points a game. I mean, I don't see that changing this week either against, the Rams secondary. So they're just going to keep piling it on.
Yeah, now outside of, again, my love for Emmanuel Sanders at 7,600, outside of that, I don't really love any of the top-end wideouts this week just because I don't think it's there. I think they're too expensive for what they're going up against, whereas he's got the best. Antonio Brown has been productive 2 weeks in a row. He's crushed it last year, and he's got the best matchup with the top guys.
Yeah.
Fun stat: the last time Antonio Brown caught under 5 balls for or less than 80 yards in a game, with both of those things being true, was 2012.
All right.
So you're at least getting that production out of him.
Yeah.
You're at least getting 13 points out of him regardless.
Right.
And that is an awesome thing to have happen versus a lot of these guys that
Absolutely.
are boom or bust. Yeah. But I think that covers the paying up for production. They're pretty predictable. Now it's time for the over-owned, under-owned, and this is an important thing, guys, for all our viewers out there. The over-owned guys, unless they're going to super perform, they're not guys you want to be on in most instances, and the under-owned guys are guys that can always separate you. So we'll start off with the over-owned guys. Lear, who's your over-owned guy of the week?
This week, same game we just talked about, but I'm going over with the Le'Veon Bell aspect of this game.
Couldn't agree more.
Bell is starting off the season, obviously, coming off of his 2-week suspension. D'Angelo Williams has looked amazing in this offense the first 2 weeks of the season, with 17.2 and a 31.2 point week last week, traveling to St. Louis. Le'Veon Bell's cost is $7,500. The fantasy community has obviously been waiting for this guy to come back and play. One of the best running backs in the league. But based on that, his price point, I think he's going to be over-owned because everybody, one's going to be excited to put him on the roster. But two, the reason I think he's going to be over-owned is the matchup.
Yeah. Well, literally, he is the exact same price as AP. And
yeah,
I think it's.
I think St. Louis has a good run defense. They stopped Marshawn Lynch week 1.
Yeah, but the Washington racist name ran
I guess.
over them.
Yeah,
so.
Matt Jones had a great week last week.
So did Alvin
Difference
Morris.
between a game on the road and at home.
Yeah, right.
St. Louis is back at home where they
Right.
play on the turf. That defense on the turf is legit.
good, yeah.
My problem here is not an argument of Le'Veon Bell's talent. It's that he's not in game shape.
Right,
Exactly. He's had to have the last 2 weeks away from the facilities, away from practices. I think that they're going to limit their exposure, knowing that they're in it for the long haul and going after it this season. I think they ease him back in. I don't think he has a massive workload this week.
Yeah.
I think, dude.
Would you even put in D'Angelo Williams as kind of a sneaky play there?
Dude, if you want this run attack, play D'Angelo Williams, not Le'Veon Bell. Dude, Murray, you're just, if I'm wrong on this, I'm wrong, but at least I'm wrong on an island as opposed to being on the guy that's literally going to be the number 1 owned running back this week.
Definitely.
Every tout in the world is telling people to play Le'Veon Bell. Every mainstream media person is telling people to play Le'Veon Bell. And I just don't understand. I get how talented the guy is. The guy's a special runner.
Yeah.
He does amazing things. But dude,
I don't think he's going to come out.
NFL players, when you take 2 weeks off, don't just come in and see 35 carries.
I think that some do, quite honestly, and I do think that Le'Veon Bell's going to get his. At the same time, I'm the kind of person that when I'm doing this, I don't want to guess like that. I don't want to worry about it. I don't want to look and go, hey, there are 4 different ways that this guy could screw me. Whether it's he's out of shape, he's injured.
Powell goes for another yard.
Right. Well, I don't want the 4 different ways that guy screws me. Versus playing AP that I know he's not competing with anyone. He's out by himself. He's going to do the damage himself. I don't have to worry about, hey, my coach is going to screw me.
Yeah.
He's not in shape. D'Angelo Williams is going to get some carries because he earned them. I don't have to worry about it.
But I think for sure
Oh.
Williams will get some playing time here. it's not going to be Le'Veon Bell 100% of the time.
No, I think best case scenario, Le'Veon
50-50.
Bell. Le'Veon Bell's
I-
50-50
yes.
split.
I go a little further than that, but at the same time, I just
But you're
don't
guessing
need
to
to make
do that. Like,
guesswork.
I don't feel like we are guessing on a
No.
50-50 share count.
Well,
it's just
we can
how.
talk about it next week and see
fair
who's
enough.
guessing.
Fair enough. Like if they
That's
do
the
more,
beauty about this show,
if
by
they,
the way, folks.
right, and we'll call ourselves out if we're wrong, just like I was wrong on the Pats last week. But Murr, who's your overrun player of the? Overrun.
My overall player of the week is James Starks. Just because at 3,000, I think I do think Eddie Lacy, there's a good shot he's not going to make it. And if he doesn't, I foresee James Starks being heavily owned at $3,000 minimum value player. Hate him against the Chiefs run D. I'm not a big fan of Eddie Lacy against the Chiefs run D this week. I wouldn't touch it.
No,
That's
and
my-
I
I'm
think
total agreement.
the reason why I hate both of these running backs is because I will put money on it right now. Majority of the people that are going to double up running backs are going to do this. They're going to go Le'Veon Bell, and they're going to pair him with James Starks to get the point value back down. And I think that is probably going to prize in any GPP you're in for probably 10 to 15% of lineups is going to be that running back combo. And just get me away from it. That's a lot of guesswork, a lot of crap that I just don't want any piece of.
It's fully
I agree with
possible.
both of you on
Yep.
the fades there. My overall player, and this is, I'm going to tell you to fade all Colts. And I know I was wrong last week when I told you to do it with the Patriots, but that was an anomaly. This one I'm not sure is. The Colts offensive line is so bad, and literally I've seen every fantasy show that I've watched, almost every podcast, talk about a couple of things. They're saying this is the week the Colts right the ship. Andrew Luck and all the offense is going to be back. This is the week you want to get on the Colts train. Don't even count out the Colts running backs. Guys, all that's sheer guesswork and sheer nonsense. The last time this Titans team played at home, they were a legit defense that shut down another team. They had a little bit of struggles on the road, but I don't want this Colts team until they prove me different and prove that they can score. Maybe I'll be a week late to the party, but I'd rather be a week late to the party than pay and light a bunch of money on fire betting on the Colts to magically pull rainbows out of their behinds and turn the season around. Like, until they solve that offensive line problem, regardless of how good your quarterback is, you're not going to get the passes downfield, which has been Luck's problem.
Right.
Like, he is getting hit almost every play.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't want their defense against Mariota. I don't fade all Colts. That's my recommendation here for overown.
I don't 100% agree with that, but not with a caveat there. Really, the only player I really like on the Colts is Dante Moncrief,
Right.
because I get him at 4,800.
Right, so does everybody else,
He
though.
gets 18 to 20. He's only being productive. The Colts D is very, very bad and very, very banged up. Their corners are banged up.
Yes.
I
So
do
you
like
think this
Mariota.
might be a high-scoring affair?
No, I like Mariota this week, and I think the Colts are going to have to throw a lot. Now, they may not score a lot, but they're going to have to throw because their O-line is not that great. I don't know that they can run the ball effectively.
I would rather own Allen Hurns or Robinson.
And
than
again,
pay
where do you
for
think there's
in
lots
a
of
game where
points?
there's going to be a lot more
Yeah.
points scored than Dante Moncrief in this game. Like, you have, from what we've just discussed, we're projecting Moncrief out at the same point total as those guys.
Right.
They're all roughly the same price. Like, give me the game with a higher total. Give me the game where I see both offenses going instead of. But that's just me. And plus, like I said, all the touts, all the buzz is that, I think the Colts are going to be way higher owned than what they should. With that said, anybody else have anything to add there? All right, so we'll go to the under-owned plays, and we'll try to move along fairly quickly because we're running long on time this week. But we're doing a lot of information for you, and most of you that are tuning in this late are diehards anyway, so you
That's
want
right.
this information. So, Lear, who's your under-owned player of the week?
My under-owned guy this week is going to be Brandon Marshall. When the season started out, everybody was questioning how productive he would be in this offense.
Oh, yeah.
With Geno Smith. Now with Fitzpatrick in the fold, they've kind of built a rapport between the two of them. He's been, fairly productive. He had a 18.2, and then last week he had a 26.1. So, he's definitely being productive, and he's a $6,200 price point. Maybe a little high for that, but, he's going down in price, which is crazy. He is $200 less than he was last week, and he was fairly productive with a 26-point game. With their matchup, against the Eagles at home, I think that if this is one of those games where it's a low scoring game, he's still going to get his opportunities and his targets. Or it could go a complete opposite and be a huge high scoring game and he still gets the opportunities.
Now, I don't think the high scoring game without Jets defense is going to ever happen. But he does catch third down balls a lot, and his value as a third down wide receiver.
Fitzpatrick is learning to really rely and trust in him.
Well, he got his against the Browns in a game that wasn't overly high scoring outside the defenses were obviously scoring.
Yeah.
And so I just think that, you know what you're going to get with Brandon Marshall. He's very similar to almost like an Elfitz. You know, he's a primary, he's a first receiver. Even if the game is grinded out, he's going to catch his 6 to 8 balls. You're going to get that.
Do you guys, this reminds me of something, Fitzpatrick and the Jets this year. Do you guys remember a few years back, for fantasy purposes, when Fitzpatrick was in Buffalo, and they had the Stevie Johnson, Woods, tandem, and Fitzpatrick was actually a serviceable quarterback that he could roll out every. I think that's the scenario he's in right now in New York.
Yeah.
He's got great weapons. When he has good weapons and a decent line in front of him, he seems to throw the ball well. I'm not sold that he's not going to lead them to the playoffs this year.
And the other thing too is, I know maybe one of these other guys might talk about it a little bit too, but really when you're choosing a wide receiver from that team, the Jets, you're either basically going to go Brandon Marshall or Eric Decker. And Eric Decker is a cheaper version at $4,900, so he saves you a decent price point of $1,300. But he is questionable going into this game.
Up this week.
But I still think that Brandon Marshall is the blanket for Fitzpatrick right now, with Eric Decker being the guy learning and earning as far as Fitzpatrick's.
Brandon Marshall was a legit receiver with Cutler throwing in the ball. That means pretty much anyone.
With Cutler.
And with Orton. That means in my book, anybody that can throw the ball better than those two, he's going to be fine with. I like it. Murr, who's your under-owned player of the week?
My under-owned player of the week is one we've already spoken about, so I won't spend much time. TJ Yeldon, 4,400, again, catches balls, going up against a team with no defense, going up in a game that they're going to run a lot of plays because the Patriots will score.
Doubling up on my sneaky value play.
My issue with this play, the only issue that I have, is that Jacksonville's going to get down so far.
He catches
balls.
That's fine. But I'm just saying that they're not going to throw dinky 2-yard, 5-yard screen passes.
Sure they will.
They're going to be going, slants and long routes as far as that is concerned. And he's not going to be part of that action.
That's the thing is when you're down like that, if you really believe that the other team is that the Patriots are going to be that far up, it's pin your ears back, you're blitzing, blitz, you go, and it is all dump off because they don't give you a chance to do anything else.
It's exactly what we've seen from all the pass catching backs. What you do is you pick up the blitzer if he comes through, you lay one hit, and then release 3 steps to the left or 3 steps to the right, and you're wide
5 to
open.
6 yards.
Yes,
and then there you do it again and again.
I just think he's going to get you those all day long, even if the game gets crazy. I'm not sure the game gets crazy because I think Brodels has learned how to keep his own pedal down. We'll see.
Blake Broyles.
Bortles?
Yeah.
Brodels, however you want to say it. I'm pretty sure I said that right. Okay. With that said, my under-owned pick is Jarvis Landry at 6,400. I think people aren't on him. I don't understand it. The guy just keeps producing.
Here's my 20.
People are on him. Right. It's just how much more damage can you do as a player before everybody starts hopping on him? I mean, he draws Buffalo, who's actually bad against the pass. Mostly because they're getting lit up down the sides. They're not going to be able to run on this Buffalo team. I just think that people are going to think Buffalo's defense is too legit. I think the corners, as we saw last week, that guy that comes across the middle with Edelman was what tore the Buffalo Bills up. Landry should do the same. And last game was 8 for 110 without a touch. The game before that was 8 for 53.
So he's got a good 8 average. Yeah.
I mean, dude, he's going to get his 8 a game and possibly get 100 plus and possibly get a touchdown here or there. I love Landry, and I think people are under-owning him at $6,400.
Yeah, and
would you like a Tannehill Landry play there? You kind of that?
The problem is Tannehill's not putting up crazy numbers. They're not throwing the ball a ton. Like, if they were throwing the ball enough, I would.
He is good.
Well,
I-
with
I
Lamar
basically-
Miller, Lamar Miller's got injury right now too.
Right.
So
I mean, basically, like, if I'm talking about all the lineups I'm going to do, I would not be surprised if somewhere along the line I don't have a Tannehill Landry combo starting off. Like,
Well,
I'm
and-
sure I will at some point.
A
But
lot of touts have been on Rashard Matthews as
Yes,
well because
yes.
he's super cheap.
Yeah.
It's everybody's pick up Rashard.
I preached to you last week. Don't take the unknown, even if he's cheaper.
Right.
Pay for the stud
think
we
the
know.
guys gets
And
eight.
last week I couldn't have been more right about the Elephants versus John
yeah.
Brown stuff. Like, please, guys, listen to me on this. Like, 90-some% of the time, take old reliable value where you know what you're getting over questionable unknown, especially when you're saying on the same team, I'm going to take questionable unknown over old reliable. That doesn't make any sense.
So it's a number
Like-
one versus a number two
Right.
/3 guy.
Right.
I mean, that's
and
just-
there's a reason why
makes
one
sense.
guy's the number one, one guy's the number two.
There's a guy they look to on third down, and that guy's going to get more balls. You do get a point per catch.
And of
Easy
course,
enough.
the
Let's
exception to the rule are the slot guys that are amazing, right?
Right.
And he's a slot guy that's amazing, but he's also functionally their number
functionally
one.
they're
So,
number one.
yeah, I'm not afraid to renumber guys. So with that said, that wraps up the unknown guys. Now we'll do the quick dumpster fire hit of the week. Lear, who's your dumpster fire of the week?
dumpster fire this week is Matt Forte. He started off the season well. Started off with a 30.6. Last week only had a 14.5. His price has steadily declined. This week he's only 7,300 after being 78 and 7,700. Chicago is going to Seattle, so they're 0-2. So obviously Seattle having their home opener this weekend, that place is going to be off the hook. So I expect that defense to show up and have a good day. And obviously Seattle has a fourth-ranked defense against the run. Forte is questionable this week, but if he plays, don't waste your money on him this week. He will produce you just not enough to pay off his price point, which is 7,300. So
Yeah,
my advice is just stay away.
You're going to need a lot of catches for him to pay
Yeah.
off his value.
And you have a backup quarterback.
I just don't want
Yeah.
the newly reunited Legion to boom at home.
Yeah, no thanks.
So
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm with you there. Lear, Murr, who's your dumpster fire?
Mine is a guy we've already gone over, so I won't spend a lot of time. DeMarco Murray. His offensive line sucks, and Chip Kelly doesn't know what he's doing with him. They went out and got a bunch of backs for no apparent reason, and there you go.
All I need is 11 points through 2 games.
Oh, they're playing the Jets as well. So
Right.
got it.
And
Yeah,
they're
I
playing
don't
the
want to
Jets.
touch it.
Yeah, no thank you. Mine is Jeremy Hill. That's going to surprise a lot of people. I think he's too expensive for what he is. He's 7,300. You can get Gio Bernard way cheaper, and they put up basically the same point total. Jeremy Hill fumbled the ball twice last week. Now, the touts and everybody is back on Jeremy Hill, and they're like, oh, he just had a bad week, blah, 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 blah. When you look at the price tag and the fact that Jeremy Hill has to be on a short chain after fumbling twice and almost costing them the game last week, Gio Bernard automatically gets you that like 12 to 15 line just in the balls he catches. He is
Right.
the third down back. He's the safety valve. That puts me on an island from all the people owning Jeremy Hill at a higher price tags, and I'm saving money. But that's before I worry about, that's before I even factor in that Jeremy Hill can fumble or Jeremy Hill can get hurt, which makes Gio's like money and the values shoot through the roof.
Right.
That's why dumpster fire for me, Jeremy Hill, too many people are on him. Go with Gio if you like that running attack in that divisional game, because traditionally in divisional matchups, pass catching backs are the ones that actually point higher, because what happens is that we see those quagmires, those stalemates on the defensive offensive line. People just don't move the ball well. So what do? You have to throw to the back to start opening up the running lanes. I just think Gio will have the better game once again, other than Jeremy Hill, and I think majority of people are going to be on Hill. He's going to be the dumpster fire that I picked for this week. Anybody have anything to add?
I love the Quagmire. Giggity.
Giggity.
Yeah, I'm with you. Too expensive. Period.
Yeah, I mean-
that's it. I mean,
Yeah.
he may do
If he was-
his, but 73.
Yeah, that's too
Give me a
expensive.
back that does it all. That's buying
If he
stuff.
was-
Give
if
me
he was
AP for
6,
200 more.
If he was 6, sure.
Give me
Like,
Jamal for 100 more. He
Right.
does it all. And he's
No,
buying
it's like,
stuff. You know?
that's the real argument. Is like, right? Like I broke down Hill as like we
Give
weren't
me a
putting
guy
in
by
price-
himself.
but then we weren't putting in price tags. But you literally tell me I can buy AP for $200 more. I'm sorry, you were smoking crack rock to
Right.
choose
Yeah.
Jeremy Hill
Yes.
over Adrian Peterson.
In a better match.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly. Like, all right, guys. I think we went a little over on time, but you diehards that are with us don't care because you just want the fantasy action and all the information. We love you guys. Thank you for sticking with us. Remember to like, share, favorite on Facebook, Twitter,
YouTube.
and YouTube.
Subscribe.
Yes, subscribe to the channel as well. Thanks, guys, for your support. Remember to support FantasyDonks.com. Sign up through any of these sites via those links. Helps pay for the shows that we do and helps us bring you this information for free, which is something that we stand on.
Had a great week last week,
Yeah.
especially this guy down here on the end,
Yeah.
Mr. Murr.
And he would have had a great
What was
week.
it? 170. What was the total?
Oh,
Your
my
best
final
team?
180 something. I don't remember.
So,
189, 186.
Just like less than a point with Bilal Powell.
Will Powell
All he had
was
to give was
trying.
one.
He was trying.
Yeah, but still a great cashing week, sir.
Yeah,
Thank
great
you,
week.
thank you.
Like Lear had a great week, cash a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, you know, anytime you're making money, I at least broke even, which I'm happy with considering every lineup I had either had one of the guys that crapped on us at running back or tight end. So, you know,
Brandon
like,
Cooks.
yeah,
Brandon Cooks.
or Brandon Cooks. That was my main death blow there. Was yeah. So. Guys, hopefully we make everybody good money this week. Hopefully we're making money.
Yeah.
If we're not, hopefully it's you, or hopefully you're making just a little bit less than us in the same context.
Right.
No, have a great weekend, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Again, we love and appreciate you guys watching us and supporting our show and what we do. Have a great week, guys.
Have a great rest of the weekend. A great weekend.